Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've done a prior self-repair attempt video, so now's a good time. This one, the owner did a rebuild and he said everything's working fine but the RPM, and I think he said he tried to run a jumper and that didn't work either. We have a trip button that's not working, gear select that's not working. I'm probably just going to have some fracture solder joints that need to be gone over. And I see the tack is not doing what it should. Let's just do a sweep here. Yeah, tachometer's all hosed and the trip button's not working. Looks like we have a dark fuel gauge, so something's going on there. I could see he put in white LEDs. Let's tear into it. I also see a lot of scratches on the face too, you know, in this area here. One of my pet peeves, you know. Yeah, full of fingerprints and scratches. There's no reason to touch that part of the face, you know. You just take this part off and set it off to the side. No need to break it down the asphalt. Let's see, yeah, okay, so the trip button, the top of the trip button is broken off. When you pull the lens off, this is what's happening. You really want to be careful when taking the lens off, because if you put too much side or up or down force on this stem will break the top of the trip button off, and that's why his trip button wasn't working. All right. Let's take a close look and see what we have to work with here. First thing I notice is we have a missing lamp for the cruise control. It's just gone, but he does have an LED in the trans temp position, which really isn't necessary because this gauge doesn't have a trans temp, so you really should have used that for the cruise control. Well, actually, there's really no reason to change out the cruise control or blinker lamps. They're really not on long enough to burn out, where you do need to replace all the backlighting. So this was the one that wasn't working. Yeah, it's just not soldered. Wonder if it's been, yeah, you just missed a solder joint. That's why that wasn't lighting up. Let's just power this up here. Okay. All right. How does the back side look? Gross. All right. I wonder if he used an aggressive flux, maybe, because even the copper pads, the exposed, everything just looks almost corroded. It may not have been a no clean flux that he used. Yeah, here I can see where he attempted to run a jumper. This is the RPM here. So it looks to me like let me get something to point at with here. So he probably pulled the pads. I'm guessing under these solder blobs there isn't going to be any pads left. But here, not only did he pull the pad and he tried to run a jumper, but the test point is gone too. So he pulled the pad and then he pulled the test point. So there's nothing left to solder to. So I'll have to scrape off solder mask, get down to the copper pad. And yeah, I think these are all kind of pretty destroyed looking. So I think the best thing to do here is remove everything he did, start from the ground up, clean all this off, and just see what really is hiding under those solder blobs. All right, I think that's about all there is to go over. He does have all X27s in, so we'll just maybe yeah, pull this out. We'll tear it down, clean it up, and build it back up. Now, with the solder blobs and flux cleaned off, we can kind of see what was hiding underneath there. And we have the typical missing pads. Let's just get something to point with here. So this is the RPM one. This is the one that was giving them trouble. So we have a missing pad and a missing test point, which I knew that from before. We had another missing pad here. But an interesting thing is there's a nick in the trace, and there's not continuity through this foil trace here. So we do have continuity from this via to this test point, but not from this via to this pad or test point. So this is a break all the way through the foil. It looks like it was just a nick that he probably accidentally did. Under the microscope, you'll be able to see that a little bit more clear. Here's the mile per hour. Every single one of the pads have been liberated. They're typical left right off the board pads, and a little damage here, not too bad. Couple pads missing for this stepper motor, one missing here, one damaged, one missing. You know, if you find yourself in a situation where you're ripping pads off, you should either change techniques or get some different tools, or I don't know. You're not doing yourself any favors by wrecking your own circuit board. Anyways, so I think next I'm going to go ahead and yank this busted trip button off. Alright, now with the fractured solder joints fixed, we should have a working Prindle display again, and we should have a working trip button. Come on, focus phone. Let's go ahead and fix his LEDs in the light situation here. We'll see if we can get this LED to sit right on here. There. Alright, so that LED should work. Let's give him a cruise control lamp, since he must have accidentally knocked it off or forgot to put one back on, or who knows what, but it'd be nice having a cruise control light. So go ahead and put one of those back on. Alright, before I put the stepper motors back in, let's just do a quick check on everything else. Alright, so that's working again. We have the Prindle back, and let's give the button a test. There, we have a working button again. Alright, now it's time to attack the backside, get some fresh new stepper motors in here, and do a nice job patching up all this ripped up foil. All right, so we've got some fresh X27 stepper motors installed, and jumpers ran to repair the ripped pads and missing traces and pulled test points. But I am going to glue down the mile-per-hour stepper motor because there are no pads left. There's nothing left to anchor the stepper motor tightly to the board. So if the needle is ever removed, that could put enough pressure on the stepper motor joints to kind of break it free. So I just want to make sure this doesn't go anywhere. And it is just hot glue, so it can be removed. But I just want to make sure that it stays nice and tight to the board. Yeah, that's good enough. And before I get too far ahead of myself, I am going to test each one of these stepper motors to make sure I get a full smooth sweep out of them. Okay, that looks good. This cluster is a good example of some common mistakes made. So hopefully this will come in handy for somebody. See if I can get some of those marks and scratches off of there. All right, the face cleaned up pretty good. Now I just got to set the needles, try to situate the camera here so I can see top down. I usually don't do this with the camera hovering over my my head, so it's a little bit of an awkward angle for me to get these set right. Dang it. My connector came undone. All right, let's see how good I did. They should all reset to their home location. And my connector came off again. There we go. All right. That part looks good. Now for the lens. All right. So you see these little groups of scratches right here, right in the center of the lens. That is from the, there's a bracket on the underside of the inside of the dashboard that if you're not careful when you go to unplug it, well, it's in the dashboard, you don't want to bang the top of the lens on the inside of the dashboard, because that bracket will scratch this up. So usually what I do is I put my hand around it like this, so that way my hand is cushioning the lens from that bracket. So let's power this thing up one more time. I'm going to give this thing some data so we can test each gauge, and let's get the RPM and mile per hour going here. Where's my wires? There we go. All right, so now there we go, mile per hour. So the tachometer is now sweeping as it should. Mile per hour looks good, and no trans temp. We have oil control. We have volt. Come on, volt. There we go. We have fuel. We have temp. We'll put them all to max here, in case you're wondering what I'm doing. This is my box right here where I can control, well, there's no trans temp, but I can control each of the gauges individually with this, so that's what I'm reaching up there and doing. And this is just a signal generator for the mile per hour and tachometer. But everything is working. So I think that wraps up this video. Yeah, nothing else to talk about here. Thanks again for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, I suppose you probably see a doctor or something, or I don't know. Thanks for watching. I can't forget the star of the show. He's the reason I get all the views. Right, kitty? All right. See you next time.